Good evening, St. Louis, and welcome into STL Sports Central. This is the City Central Postgame. I am your host, Matthew Rocchio, and we're doing a special presentation right now down in the depths of Energizer Park here after City 2 takes down Ventura County 3-0 to advance after the first round of the MLS Next Pro playoffs. And right out of the gate, we're actually going to be joined by our guest today, City head coach, or City 2 head coach, and a lot of other titles are around the building, John Hackworth. John, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Glad to be here.
Let's just dive right into the game. Of course, a 3-0 win. We heard you in the post-game presser. Took a while for the offense to really break through, but once they did, finally kind of happened for you.
Yeah, I mean, we were good. We created a lot of really good chances, but we needed to keep their goalkeeper, Brady Scott, played excellent, made some huge saves. So we had to stay after it. And fortunately, we got the second and obviously the third, and it looks like a easier win. It was really tough and well-played game by both teams.
When you go into the half like that and you're leading, 7 shots on target to nothing, and everything's working for you, how do you approach that? Because I think as a coach, it seems like if you have problems to fix, it's like, okay, we'll go in there and we'll make a couple points. But when everything's rolling right, but you're still only leading 1-0 and the game could change in any moment, what is the halftime like for you guys?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance because we did have things we needed to fix. We make some of those adjustments, but then we also needed to talk about the fact that we're winning the game and our management of the game, how we control the ball, where we lose it, where we look to really try to, take some risk, and being up 1-0 is important, but it's also precarious. So you saw in the second half, Christian has to make a really big save to keep it 1-0. And then obviously we do the job to find the second and the third, but it's a really good Ventura team. I think they were at the top of the table when I came into the season, on the intern basis. So full credit to them. It was a tough playoff game, and like that we were able to kind of grind through it, but still play some really good soccer in that second half.
Speaking of playing some really good soccer, watching the team today, and obviously, there's cohesiveness in this organization of what the style you play at all the levels. And so watching the team tonight, it did seem like there were long stretches that seemed like, just extrapolating this even to the first team, it seemed like the ideal way that this system is supposed to work. The back line has cohesiveness that allows the fullbacks to give you guys offensive width without exposing you defensively. The sixes know where they're supposed to be. They're always there ready to help things out. It seemed like a lot tonight that the structure of how this team's high press in the 4-2-3-1 is supposed to work, it seemed like that was a perfect example in a lot of ways.
I love that you recognize all those things. Yeah, this is a good team. They're well-oiled. There's a lot of guys that have been here for a couple years. Kuz has been here for 4. Dita's been here for 4. But there are guys that understand what our principles are, and we've been working hard, but we've also been working smart. We've had really good form all season long. That's why we win the whole league, the supporter shield, not supporter shield, whatever. The little paper plate that we wrapped in tinfoil and put some kind of award on it, which I think is huge. If you can do it for the majority of the season and you win it, like that's a traditional, championship. So, but we're American and we love our playoffs.
We do.
So,
we do.
Thank goodness tonight, we were able to be successful. But everything you talked about is what we pride ourselves on, and we are, I think, a really good example of what this club has been built off of and how we're just trying to execute at a high level.
Something I haven't done a good enough job. We've talked a lot about a lot of the young names, the names we hear a lot, but tonight was a great example of a name that I don't talk about enough. You guys talk about him plenty, and that is Juan Kuzane. Kuz had an incredible game. Obviously, that free kick early goes for an own goal, but it opens up the scoring, and then both from the 10 spot early in the game, and then when he shifts back to that second 6 spot late, he was a dynamic playmaker in the middle of the field the entire night.
Yeah, we lean on him a lot. And when he's, pulling the strings for us, we're in a good way, so it's really nice to watch him. He has come back from a big injury last year, and now he's in really good form. I can't be happier or prouder for him. And he is our guy, when he's pulling the strings and putting those balls through for Emil and McSorley, for Teo, for Mackay. It's a nice thing to watch. It's fun. Hopefully it's entertaining to our fans. I think the St. Louisans love a team that plays that way, with the ball as well as against the ball.
Two players that we have talked about a lot, but watching them the last 2 months, especially Tyson Pierce, we talked about him back in early August. Watching him tonight, and we talked a lot about that inverted fullback role and why it's so good for him because it allows him to do the best parts of the center midi stuff that he likes to do with the fullback. But to me, it seems like he's taken a jump even since July and August for Tyson Pierce, especially how he looked tonight.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're so proud of Tyson. He is, a homegrown player that has developed right in front of our eyes, that is versatile. He put in a huge shift tonight, and he just came back from national team duty, had a horrendous travel day. So probably a little bit of that you saw in some of the late game cramping that he had, but he gets the assist on the second goal while he's telling me, I'm done, coach, I'm done. I got Cam Silly screaming at me that I need to get him off the field, and yet he gets a great assist. So it's great. There was a moment in the first half where, as you say, we pull him inside, but then he drifted, and he was actually the highest player on the field, which as a coach, I kind of love because I love that mobility. It really messes with an opponent when you can do that, but it's also a little risky. So I was like, Tyson, okay, get back, and it's a balance, really is.
I don't know if this is the exact one you're talking about, but there was one in the first half where he did do that, and then you guys turned the ball over in the midfield, but Brendan McSorley had replaced him in that right back area, and then when they do get the transition and they break into your guys' box, the 4-man back line was your nominal 3 defenders, and then Brendan McSorley at right back. How incredible is that, watching him just sprint and play the full game like that?
Yeah, McSorley and Tyson, this is it. When you talk about a good team, you need to talk about relationships, and Tyson and Brendan have a really good, strong relationship. And when McSorley knows that when Tyson goes inside, or he goes inside and up, or whether Tyson just goes around on an overlap, that McSorley is now becoming our right back. And that if we lose the ball, he has to track back. McSorley's work ethic and determination is unprecedented on our team. It allows us to have a player like Tyson have a lot of freedom in the attack. And yet he's also the guy that we depend on to score the second and third goal. So pretty impressive night from him, and a great season. I mean, he for sure has been one of the best players in Next Pro all year long.
How much has the first team experience, and the big names are McSorley and Joyner, because they've been getting the game experience as well. But I know a lot of these guys have been practicing with the first team. But for Brendan, for Mackay, getting that MLS game experience, what have you seen from the development for them, and how much that has affected them?
I mean, you get confidence. You get confidence. It also can be difficult. You look at Seth and Hazy. Hazy had some really good moments when he first got called up. Hasn't had some of those recently. Seth Antwi was fantastic. He's our kind of anchor as our 6. He stays most of the time to clean up does all the dirty work that goes unnoticed. But it is a balance, because we're so happy for Mackay gets a start last night here at home. Like, that's amazing. I just want to tell you a quick story. He was bugging me last night in the locker room, asking me if he could start again. And I'm like,
God.
First of all, are you fit enough? And he said, yeah, coach, I'm fit enough. And I'm like, well, listen, you're a pro, and I'm not going to do that to a professional player, but be ready. And he obviously came on and played well. Incredible. But you see the guys like McSorley and Mackay have that little bit of confidence. And then guys like Hazy and Seth have to deal with the opposite end of the spectrum, that maybe they're not getting as many minutes. In the last 6 weeks, we have played so many games without those 4 guys, and then we had to rely on some of our academy players. Emi Chavez has played amazing. Evan Carlock played great against Portland in our last game. But there's a long list of academy guys that have contributed to this run of good form for City 2, and that's a testament to what Dale does and the academy coaches, and just the St. Louis in general. We have a really good player pool. It's really nice to see the pathway of how we are bringing kids from the academy to the second team and then to the first team.
I know you're going to leave it to Dale Schilly to pick the next opponent. That's how MLS Next Pro works. Is looking like the choice will be
I have
between
too many other things to do. So
exactly.
I can't. And Dale's awesome, So we tease Dale that he doesn't even know who's in the playoffs. So whoever we get, we get. But he'll do a good job for us.
The good thing is it's looking like your two options are going to be both teams with 51 points. So you could flip a coin.
Okay. I haven't even looked, Matthew. So who are they right now?
Unless the Town loses tonight to the 6th seed North Texas, it's looking like it's either you'll have a choice between Real Monarchs and Rapids 2.
Okay. All right. Both those teams are really good, well coached. The thing that this is the Western Conference is really good. And when you get to those, Ventura County was the top team, as I mentioned earlier, but when you talk about the Town or Colorado or RSL Monarchs, like they're all really good, well coached. We're going to have our hands full to try to, win the next game and keep matriculating through the playoffs.
One last X's note question, going back to the system. This system, if you have the back line, it looks, it should look like tonight. But when you are pressing high and you are moving the fullbacks and you're taking chances sometimes in the midfield, you do expose the back. And so the game from Christian Oliveras today wasn't tasked a lot, but when he came up. How important in this whole system is the goalkeeper spot, considering that you're not going to maybe allow a lot of chances, but when you do, they're going to be high XG chances?
Yeah, it was massive. Really important that he had one kind of critical moment in this game and he came up huge. And that allowed us to stay with a 1-0 lead late in the game. Christian's another player that we should talk about because he has done such a good job with his own development. Alex Langer, our director of goalkeeping, Tim Kelly, they both do such a good work with our goalkeeping group. Obviously it helps when Roman Berkey is leading that. But Christian has been fantastic and he's come up big for CITY2 when asked to represent.
This will be the last one here, and it'll be a big one. Going back to July of last year, it's been a pretty crazy 15+ months for you. Just put that experience, in just what has it been like for you, a guy who you've been around soccer your entire life, and now in the last year plus you've done just about every job possible in the professional side of the game. How has that been? How are you feeling? What does the future look like for you?
Well, I hope I'm here for a long time. I love this city. I love this club. I'm really proud that I'm able to contribute whenever I'm asked, but I'm not going to lie, it's been tough too. But I'm blessed with a really good staff, and I'm blessed right now with a tremendous group of players, and they could make any coach look like they know what they're doing. And fortunately right now they make me look like I know what I'm doing.
Awesome. Hack, thank you so much for joining us today.
Matthew.
There he is, CITY2 head coach John Hackworth, and a bunch of other titles all around this building, joining us today on City Central. Thank you so much. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Sounds great.
There it is. That is John Hackworth. Again, he's got titles all around the building here. He's going to have to slide out of this booth situation we got going in here. We're going to keep on rolling here on the City Central postgame just a little bit longer. Our co-host, Justin Horneker, should be joining us here momentarily. He's been doing the player interviews over in the media area, and let's switch to this one. Is it a little bit better? No, let's go back to the other one. He's going to be doing the interview in the media area. So Justin's going to join us. We're going to get Justin Horneker on the post game to break down this game for us a little bit more, and also should be joined by a player on St. Louis CITY2 as well. Who are they going to give us? I don't really know yet, but I'm excited whoever's going to be, because as you heard John Hackworth break down there's talent all over this CITY2 roster, and we don't really get to talk about enough of it. A couple of the talented players that we have talked a lot about that I do want to continue the conversation about. Tyson Pierce is incredible, and he's young. He's 17. Makai Joyner's 18 this year, and he's about to turn 19. So how much do you give Tyson Pierce next season if you're St. Louis City SC? My thing is that he plays really important positions, especially when you talk about the depth on this St. Louis City roster, the first team roster. Tyson Pierce plays center midi, and Tyson Pierce plays right back. And it looks to me like he could probably play a couple positions in between that. But in this 4-2-3-1 system, he's a perfect right back. And the way he gets central and the way he's able to attack teams in that way really changes how things are able to work. And when you get that inverted player and he overloads, it creates a lot of danger for the City to attack. And it's something you've seen plenty of times this year in the first team with Conrad Vollum. Think about it the same way. I know he's been playing the left back a lot, but Conrad Vollum would get inverted and he would join the midfield. And the reason why that's so crucial is just soccer when it comes down to it. If you really want to simplify it, is just get more players in one area of the pitch than the other team. And if you can have 4 players when they have 3 or 3-on-3, usually if you're the offense, you can then dictate what happens with the ball and good things are going to happen. So that's why that Tyson Pierce inverted right back game is so crucial, why it opens up the offense so well, why every time I have Hackworth on, I just want to talk about Tyson Pierce. But we can't just focus on them. Juan Kuzain had a huge game tonight. The free kick that he put in was extremely dangerous. One way or another, City was probably getting a goal out of that play, even if the Ventura County defender doesn't put it in the net himself. So, I mean, that kind of 10 play, the ability to drop back as one of the 6s and make things happen. We've seen that from multiple City players. Marcel Hartl has had a similar role playing both the 10 and the 6. And he's been able to be dynamic at both, more dynamic at the 10, but we saw Juan Kuzain today really dynamic in both facets. He was, 4 or 5 key passes from the 10 spot, and then he added 2 or 3 key passes in the end of the game from the 6 spot. And really tonight really was, and I think the biggest thing I want to focus on from the Hackworth question is that is how this team wants to play soccer. That's how this team's built to play soccer. And I didn't want to directly ask him about, why is Roman Berkey so important to this club? Why is Roman Berkey so important? Why does Roman Berkey being a designated player make sense? He was here as the head coach of City 2. But you heard him talk about Oliveira's there, being able to make that one big XG save. That's why I think Roman Berkey is so important to this team. That's why I don't agree with it. But that's why they decided to take the risk, roll the dice, and pay him over the max TAM level where he's going to be a DP, because that's how important the goalkeeper was. And this game was a perfect example. The City 2, they played perfectly. The back line was solid. It didn't get stretched out. It didn't move to one side or the other side too far like it was last night in the first half against RSL for the first team. The back line was perfectly stoic. You heard it from him. Seth Antwi was doing exactly what the 6 needs to do on this roster. You heard him talk about how Seth Antwi is just always staying back and cleaning up the mistakes. You have to have that extra player back who's going to clean up your mistakes. If a big part of your team is going to constantly be both of your fullbacks bombarding up the flanks, and that is part of St. Louis City, and it has to work. And for that to work, you need the 6 to stay back. You need good play from your center backs. And then every once in a while, when you turn the ball over up high, or in the situation that happened tonight, Yaziel Orozco can't really open his hips because he's hurting in his hips. So he can't open his hips. The play gets behind him, and it's an easy play. Well, the few times that happens per game, when you run a suffocating, successful style like St. Louis City plans to run, the few times that gets exposed, you need to have a better than average goalkeeper to keep the game either at 1-0 or at 0-0 or 1-1, what have you. If they don't have, and again, we're paring it down from City 2, with Christian Oliveras, to City 1 with Roman Berkey. If you don't have that plus goaltender playing this scheme, then every time you get exposed, every time you take a step up and it doesn't work, there's probably going to be a ball in the back of the net. And that's why I think the goalkeeper is so important. Moving on from just talking about why this game is important to City 1, but also to City 2. I mean, City 2 just they dominated today, and shouldn't be surprising to anyone. This is what they've looked like the entire season. St. Louis City SC finished this season with 62 points. That was far and away the highest in the league. The 58 at the top for the Philadelphia Union 2 and New York Red Bull 2 as well. So they won this one with a pretty good gap considering how many games were played. But nonetheless, the Western Conference is tightly packed. City finished with 62 points. Second seed Town FC finished with 52 points. The 8th seed finished with 41. So the difference between the 8th seed and the 2 seed is the difference between the 2 seed and the 1 seed. So I understand why Hack is kind of like, listen, I'm not worrying. I got plenty of other things to worry about. I don't need to worry about whether or not it's team with 51 points 1 or team with 51 points 2 in the Real Monarchs or Colorado Rapids 2. That's the fun part about St. Louis City 2 and the MLS Next Pro. If you guys don't know, I know Tom Timmerman put out a tweet. You pick your opponent in the MLS Next Pro playoffs. So because they were the first seed, they got the pick of the litter of the bottom 4 teams in the playoffs. They chose the 8 seed, or I should say City 2 assistant coach Dale Schilly chose the 8 seed Ventura County. It looks like, based on the scoreboard, and I can actually check the final scores tonight in the MLS Next Pro playoffs, as my apologies, things have completely turned around. Real Monarchs, who of course is the second team for Real Salt Lake, which you saw yesterday, they were up 1-0 in the first half over Minnesota United 2. Minnesota United has turned that game around and taken a 2-1 lead in the 96th minute of that game, whereas the town is leading North Texas. I mentioned that when John Hackworth was here. That was really the one big potential upset here. So it looks like Minnesota United is going to beat Real Monarchs, which means St. Louis City 2's most likely will have the choice between Colorado Rapids 2, who finished with 51 points on the season, and Minnesota United FC2, who finished with 44 points on the season. So there will be a little bit of a gap here. I would expect, if that score is final, that St. Louis City 2 will be hosting next week here at Energizer Park the 5th seed in the Western Conference, Minnesota United FC2, who obviously not nearly as successful as their home team. Getting back into what happened in this game, Brendan McSorley was incredible. If you are a fan, I should say, of the first team, then you have learned a lot about Brendan McSorley over the last few weeks. He was incredible tonight. I tweeted out early in the first half that he will be scoring a goal tonight, and I shorted him by 1. My apologies to that, Brendan. He was everywhere. He has really taken over that right wing spot, and that's, I think, such a crucial point when we talk about Brendan McSorley, is don't throw away the development of players just because their age and where they were drafted and things like that. Late bloomers are a rare thing in soccer, but they're still a thing in soccer. And so, he has been incredible. He has really turned around his game, or really improved on his game. He was a striker when he got drafted, and he has been moved to the right wing spot. And I actually think we might be talking to Brendan McSorley. Oh, I really hope we're going to be talking to Brendan McSorley. Our good friend Justin Horneker, who covers MLS for MLS.com and for St. Louis Magazine, is also walking in. So it looks like we're going to get a full little group here joining us here on the City Central Postgame. I'm Matthew Rocchio, by the way. Our postgames here on STL Sports Central, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. Justin, go ahead and slide in here. We have Justin slide in next to me where Hack was sitting, and I'm gonna have you sit over here in the corner. Thanks so much for joining us, Brendan. We're gonna have you sit over here in the corner, and let me get you a microphone. All righty.
Okay.
That'll be yours. You can just hold that if you want.
So nice.
Just talking to the top of it. That is perfect. Let me make
Close
sure.
or like not that close?
Give me a little bit. How you doing, Brendan? That's perfect. That's perfect. Let me make sure yes. All right, we got 10 minutes left here on the show, so I bring in Justin Horneker.
Hello.
Justin, thank you so much for joining the show. Brendan McSorley, you had 2 goals tonight. Thank you so much for joining the show. It was a big night tonight. Justin, you just joined the show. I'll let you have the first question.
Okay, yeah. I guess, Brendan, just how are you feeling again?
Yeah, I'm super excited. It was a great performance from the team. I think offensively and defensively, we were just solid and better than them in big moments, in transition moments, and that's why we won the game.
You had a lot of attempts early, and you weren't really breaking through. It seemed like about halfway through the first half, it was like this kid's getting a goal tonight by hook or by crook, one way or another. Did it feel for you like you were just kind of like beating down the wall and it was eventually going to come?
Yeah, I think around the 70th minute, I was like, gosh, I really want to score. And then, I was lucky enough to have 2 great passes from Tyson and Emil. And from there, it was just kind of easy tapping. So, huge credit to them.
And there's a moment where it's 1-0. You're getting a lot of opportunities going forward, but it's looking like team's starting to tire out a little bit just because you're working so hard. Was there ever a worry that okay, we need to beat him now or else something might happen?
Say again?
Was there ever a worry that you would at that moment that you had to take advantage or else Ventura could come back?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of worry that the game was so open and that there was moments that they could score. I think of Christian's save. That was a huge play. And I think a save like that gives us confidence that, we're going to get that next goal.
Talking about confidence, you've been training with the first team. You've been playing MLS minutes. What has that done for you? Has that changed how your confidence on the field?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think I'm sort of someone that has always the same confidence. I try not to let that go up and down. Try to know that if I go into any game, I'm gonna do my best, and that I can compete at any level. So I truly believe that in myself.
I was giving you a nickname earlier this season, and you didn't like it. I was comparing you to the English midfielder James Milner, and you said he doesn't score goals.
Right.
He's known for being boring. Those are all very true points. Boring James Milner. It's an entire meme and everything. I was trying to call you hardworking, so I got to find a new one. So 2 goals tonight. Clearly, you score goals. You're not boring James Milner. Not boring Brendan McSorley is one way we could go with the meme. Is there a comparison for a player you appreciate? We need to find a better one for you. What about Jamie Vardy? He scores goals. He scores goals. He's got a lot of personality. How about Vardy?
I like Vardy. I think Emil's a little bit more like Vardy than
okay,
me,
that's fair.
To be honest, I like to. Let me see. See, I love Ronaldinho, but I don't do things like Ronaldinho, so I can't say him.
How many do?
Yeah, right. He's the best.
Gotta step over Arsenal if you're gonna be Ronaldinho.
Honestly, I can't even.
You're Brendan McSorley.
Yeah, I love Man United. I'm a huge Man United fan, but I like Carlos Tevez.
Okay.
Even though I probably shouldn't.
I was gonna go with Barbatov.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There's one. Eric Cantona a little bit. We want maybe a little bit. The coaches might not like that, but that'd be a lot of fun for the journalists.
That'd be cool. But yeah, I'll stick with Carlos Tevez.
There you go. I like that.
Brendan, we've talked a lot about just like the closeness of this group. You mentioned Christian Alvarez last year. One thing that I've noticed, not just in him, but in you, but with a lot of these players that have kind of stepped up over this year, just the confidence that you have, like in a game like this, where it seemed like, you almost expected to break through, you almost expected to win. Like, have you noticed that building maybe as the group has grown together? Like, does it feel like that confidence has grown together as well?
Yeah, we are such a together team. And I think we're so confident that we're going to go into every game and win. And, the support and the confidence that Coach Hackworth gives us it means a lot. And I think he understands that he can trust us, each player on the field. And it's not as much, little coaching, but it's like more so big ideas, like team, how are we going to perform as a team? Which I think is the most important thing.
Have you surprised yourself at all with the switch out to the right wing? You've been a striker for a good chunk of your life, and then they ask you to kick outside. A lot more different defensive responsibilities, pressing responsibilities. Did you know you had that in you, and what's that switch been like?
Yeah, actually, so I played winger the first 18 years of my life.
Okay, there you go.
So yeah, that's it's in my DNA, and I'd say that's what I was originally, and then I became a striker in college and last year. But yeah, I mean, it was an adjustment at first, and yeah, I think throughout the season I've just got more comfortable playing there and trying to make the best decision offensively, defensively, and making the most out of what I can do.
Did you feel like playing striker in college, was there a bit of a learning curve to just learning that position and what they were expecting out of you?
Yeah, no. Striker is a totally different thing. It's, it's hold up play. It's probably more so you have to be clued in on who you're pressing and at what times. I think striker is probably the more difficult position. And so, yeah, I'm glad to be playing right wing. Emil has to do all the running. Even though he doesn't.
You feel like that, like pressure to, like what you learned in your pressing instincts and just like when to press, when to lay off. Like, do you feel like that's helped you now that you're back on the wing?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I have someone like Tyson behind me, so I know he wants to go every single time, and so do I. Sometimes you can get caught, but yeah, having the confidence of someone like Tyson, who's, how old is he? 17, 18. Mm-hmm. He plays like a seasoned pro, that kid, and yeah, I can't say enough about him, how good he is.
He had a nice little back heel to you at one point.
Yeah, he's a really, really good player. I think he should play for the first team, but that's just me. Me
and Hack were talking about a moment in the first half where he got really high. He did that thing where he kind of underlaps you and gets into the attacking line. He's one of the highest players, and you saw that, there was a turnover in the midfield, you busted ass back. So just like, what has it been like developing that synergy with Tyson on that right wing?
Yeah. I mean, there's not a ton of moments I notice that he's in a position where I need to get back, but if I see the right back's missing, I'm going to have to, get back. It's just what Hack expects of us, and got to do it, at the end of the day. As much as you probably don't want to sprint back, sometimes you just do.
And one thing with Hack, he told us a few months ago, he has nicknames for all the players. Mackay had to earn his first name back. He was 59, and now that he's got the first team contract, he's Mackay again. He told us his nickname for you is Meathead. Your thoughts and your feelings on that nickname?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he thinks I'm like stupid or I don't know really what it is, but I think Cam Seeley's more of a meathead than me. I don't know if you guys have seen him on the field.
Yeah, I think it was.
But yeah, I mean, he calls me meathead. I don't know. It's whatever.
Okay, so final thing then, Meathead or James Milner? Which one hit you? Which one hit you harder?
I'll stick with Meathead.
Okay, there we go. Simon, excuse me, Brendan. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Of course.
Thank you so much, man. You have a great job. Congratulations tonight. 2 goals tonight for Brendan McSorley, and St. Louis City rolls on through the playoffs. Thank you so much for joining us, Brendan. Some final thoughts on the game from you, Justin. I know you were in the presser. You were talking to the players. You got to talk to John Hackworth before he came out here. Just your thoughts on the 3-1 win for City 2 tonight.
Yeah, I think it's interesting in a game where it seemed like they were always expecting to go ahead and then to get that own goal first off. So I think that maybe takes some of the pressure away if they don't get that, and then you're 60 minutes in and the goalkeeper's playing out of his mind and saving so many shots. So that part, getting that out of the way early, I think a lot of energy. And there seemed to be an expectation of we're going to win this game.
Yes.
We are going to get out here with a way to get into the next round. And not to say that there's a feeling of team of destiny, but I think there's some unfinished business of how last year went for them. So I don't think that they would be happy until they reach the final. And
I mean, this team has had so much success from day one that when City 2 took over in 2022, before even the first team hit, and yet they really have yet to finally get across the finish line. And so I think a lot of people are really hoping that this is the year. And obviously with home field advantage, the ability to pick your opponents, seems like it's a good chance that they could maybe bring some hardware.
This group has been together for the better part of 2 or 3 years. Yep. So it seems like almost a culmination of this specific group working together. A lot of them have advanced to the first team. A lot of them are working towards that. A lot of them are, fighting for whatever their future in the sport is. So for them, I think it's almost like the culmination of this, the celebration of what they've built with City 2 since the first team has graduated. Kind of feels like the win is what needs to happen to kind of punctuate everything.
Justin Horneker, you can read him on STL Magazine or MLS.com, covering MLS and St. Louis City. One of the things that I got to talk to with Hack about, I wish you could have been here for this question, so I'm going to pose it to you.
Yes.
There were huge chunks tonight where it seemed like that was the ideal way this system is supposed to run. And two-part for you. Did you feel that as well? And knowing that, do you see the path for the first team to get back to playing that way?
I think so. I think we talked about this earlier this year when Olaf Melberg was in charge of the first team. It was so disconnected with how the second team was playing and how the first team was playing. There just wasn't that through line. So yeah, I think in some ways, at this level, you can get away with being a little more aggressive than you can. That's true. In MLS, I think.
Yeah, the transition attackers at the first team level are pretty deadly.
With how aggressive the City team presses and with the players that are able to press that high. You don't necessarily have that at the first team level, and there are players that can just make you pay even when there's no momentum going against them. So, but yes, the DNA of how the team plays should have a through line into the first team. That way that, as we've seen past 2 years, players playing well for the 2 team can come up in the first team and do something for you.
And the big thing that jumped out to me, the difference between what they're able to do here at City 2 and what the first team's able to do, the consistency in the midfield at the 6th spot, where you're always going to have that player sitting back to clean up any problems. Yeah. In my opinion, it makes the entire system work. And I really think you saw it tonight with Seth Antwi. Knowing he's always back there really kind of makes everything kind of click.
Yeah, because if you're attacking in a group of 4, even 5 sometimes, you need to have somebody that's going to eat up that space in between the center backs, and especially with center backs that do also get forward. It's a team that attacks kind of with the whole formation. So you need to be able to have somebody that can relieve that pressure when you're caught up forward. They're going to counterattack against you. And like at that point, every team in the world might get caught out because you have too many people forward.
It's funny that Brendan McSorley said it. I kind of was throwing it around about how impressive Tyson Pierce has been. But when you think about it, the age that he's going to be next year, he'll be the age that Mackay was this year.
Big year, Tyson Pierce.
So he'll be the same age Mackay was this year. Mackay didn't get that first team contract until late in the season. Do you think it's a similar timeline for Tyson Pierce next year?
I think so. And I think obviously different positions, like as an attacker, like I think you can break in a little bit younger versus as a defender and needing to be a little more physical.
A lot less depth though in the first team roster in both the center, midi, and the right back spots where he would play.
And I think even at the start of the year, like you look at how Tyson Pierce plays on the ball and some of the passes that he can throw in. Like I don't know if there's another player necessarily in the system out wide that can play both sides of the ball like he can. I think if you look at like Tullen and Carnevale, like obviously they have at a higher level now, but if you think of like how he plays both sides of the ball, how he can like be confident in the attack and play from line to line, I don't know if there necessarily is that commitment. And if he can bring that to the first team level, then he's going to be able to win a spot.
He's a perfect fit for the system. Again, he brings more of that inverted fullback kind of play that and Totland brings more of the out and out kind of right back. But with the way he's playing right now and with the questions around the right back spot, I don't think it's crazy to think that there should be a competition this spring if there's not another right back.
I think there kind of has to be, right? If you think of like when a player is supposed to take that next step, like Tyson Pierce said, a year and a half now, next pro. So next year, like if he's the next pro, that's fine. If he comes up like halfway through the year, but going into the preseason, he should be fighting for a chance to move up the depth chart.
While we're talking about the 2026, there was some news yesterday, and I didn't ask Hack directly about it because I didn't want to get chided for it.
A little bit of news, huh?
A little bit of news. And so I asked Hack today about just how important it is when you do have those moments, when you do have a good defense, the defense is working, this system will always allow high XG chances. And so how important is it to have a good goalie? And so he was talking about Christian Oliveras, but we know what he was really talking about. So the news, of course, is that Roman Berkey signs his extension. The secondary news that hit everybody was on the broadcast, and then Tom Bogert's reporting, is that Roman Berkey will be a designated player for 2026. Your reaction to both of those pieces of news?
Starting off with the designated player part, like I do think that not to say it's overblown, but it's maybe misunderstood in that like on paper he's a designated player, but he'll be able to be bought down like he was this year. So it doesn't necessarily. Probably
not till next year though. I wonder if does he have to be, I think, and that's when Bogert says he'll be a designated player for 2026. I wonder if he's just going to be over the threshold where he can't be bought down this year, but next year when the max TAM level goes up another like 200 grand or 100 grand, then he's going to be under the thing and they can buy him down for 2027.
Or if it's a way that it's just like amortized out throughout the course of the contract.
So I agree with you, but I really wonder if just from the way Bogert's reporting, if it kind of means they are going to be stuck with him at least through the summer window. Maybe a summer window they can change, but I have a feeling that they might be kind of stuck with it for at least a year.
Do have some flexibility.
Yes.
And, if you pick up John Klaus's option, then you're down, your only DP is Marcel Hartl. So if your DPs are Hartl, Klaus, you can also change to the 3-3 model.
And you can buy down Klaus.
And Klaus will be a TAM player. So, there is flexibility there. If you're like stuck with DP Roman Berkey for a year, obviously like you don't want necessarily be paying a goalkeeper as much as that. But I think I was writing about this on my newsletter, Talking Soccer, cheap plug, that like, I think the culture aspect of it, like Roman Berkey, as you kind of start a new era, new sporting director, new manager, to have the guy that's been the captain since day one come back in and show that like things are going well, I want to stay, like that maybe sends a signal to players who were considering St. Louis that like the culture is on the right track, that there are enough things to be in St. Louis, be happy, be a successful player, that the program is on the right track. I think that is almost more important than like the saves and the progressive passing. And
it's the sign to everybody else, like this is a place you want to come and play this year. And for me, and I don't know how you think on this one, my only thoughts on the free agency decisions or the players they add this year, I think they need to add, if they add 3 or 4 veterans, I think the majority of them need to be players with MLS experience. Because I think we saw it this year, just the playing in a country with a 4 time zone difference that is this large, and you have to play across this country multiple times. players aren't used to this. And I talked about this last night on our post-game show last night, but I really do think that MLS experience, not just in the front office, I think that needs to be a key in the recruiting process for the first team roster.
And if you think about like track record of a player that has been like in the league for 3 years, proven that they can handle the travel, proven that they like understand, I think of like Darlington Nagbe as like a player who was an MLS player, but like probably could have played elsewhere. How important was Darlington Nagbe to every player, every team he's ever played on?
Incredibly important.
So yeah, if you can get players like that, and I think a lot of times players like that are maybe underappreciated by their teams, or are able to, maybe be surplus to requirements because teams go out and get flashier players, or they're just in the wrong system. Like domestic players, I don't know, teams have always proven that you can get those players just by happenstance almost. So if you're prioritizing going into the domestic market and whatever your player profile that you need, like even like a 6, I think there are 6s in this league who maybe are being played out of position or aren't properly, aren't in the right spot with their team, or looking for a place to move. Like there are ways to acquire players within the league, maybe even as a free agent, that this club maybe hasn't taken advantage of in previous years.
We got a 2-position shortlist from David Critchley, despite the fact that we don't know if he's the manager next year. A wide attacker, and then a defensive profile that could
either a 6 or a center.
Yeah, that could lock in at 6, center back. Did he also mention fullback? I think.
Yes, he did.
So a 6, a center back, or a fullback who has a solid defensive profile, and then a wide attacker. That was David Critchley's wish list for this offseason. What does yours look like?
I think like the same wish list, honestly. I think Matt, me and you have talked about this like all year. Like definitely at the 6. I think that's like, when I've written about like what this team needs, it's a player that may stand next to Roman or stand next to Duluvin and be able to just be that anchor in front of the center backs. Especially if you have a Falou Fall who like you want to get forward, you want to roam out of position, you need someone that's going to be able to, play cover for that because of what he gives you in the attack. So having someone, and I think you see it last night with the 2 goals of coming right in between the center backs, having someone that can almost positionally be in that spot to hoover in those balls, as we talked about Seth Antwi in the CITY2 system earlier.
And that's why, and getting into this, I actually, I was talking about this last night again, I wonder if we're making it too much about the only having 1 DP or 1 U22 slot available, because for the wide attacker, which is going to be the big number acquisition, I just wonder how big they're going to go with that, considering Songbin Zhang has showed really well in this second half. Celio Pompeu is on a very affordable deal, and he shows that he has the ability to be a goal scorer. I mean, if he figures out the easy goals, he'll be fine. He's got the bangers figured out. And then 2 of your best young players are Brendan McSorley and Mackay Joyner. So you have 4 bodies already for 2 spots. Are you really going to spend a ton of money that locks away one of those spots? And then you're having those 4 players all fight for bench minutes or 1 starting spot, and Simon Bescher as well. So that makes me think that we could easily see that wide attacker spot filled in maybe a TAM role, leaving the big money U22 or DP for the big name 6 or a fullback or something.
I think that's because lines. The 6 that they need, those don't necessarily grow on trees, right? The players that can give you something on both sides of the ball, but be especially defensively stable.
You should have to pay $4 or $5 million to get one of those players.
Right. So I'm a little bit stuck because they do need a player that can finish, because that was like a huge problem this year. Someone that can.
But it's not like they don't have any talent on the wingers.
Yes.
Like they have good young talent.
So,
it's just
if you think that like Mackay can step into that role, right? And like he's shown that at CITY2, if you can give him that little bit extra, maybe he works away in the starting lineup, like you've seen already this year, he's getting more confident in that position. So yeah, I think like spending on the 6, you can definitely spend worse ways.
Speaking of the offseason, tell us all where people can follow you and some offseason city coverage plans.
Yeah, I think so through my newsletter, Talking Soccer, I've kind of started my offseason just detailing like where I feel like the team needs to go. I wrote about David Critchley today and just his tenure since taking over, and especially over the last 10 games. So just kind of looking at more of that, and whenever sporting director and manager decisions happen, I'll do more of a deep dive and try to figure out if that's going to work for the club or not.
All right,
So-
there it is. That is Justin Horneker. You can check him out on Talking Soccer. You can also follow him. Where can they follow you on Blue Sky?
At Horneker Justin.
At Horneker Justin. There it is. And don't worry, I spelled his name right.
Thank you.
In the comments, or in the description. So if you need to find that Twitter, you can find it in the description. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Postgame. Of course, that was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who helped us out today. It was a big help. Of course, John Hackworth joined us. Brendan McSorley. We will not call him Meathead. We won't call him James Milner either.
Not boring Brendan McSorley.
Not boring. Brendan McSorley joins us. A big thank you to everyone down here at City who helped us out today. Nia Stevenson, who runs PR here for the CITY2 side. She's been incredible getting us the guests today. Mark Abel helped out as well. Thank you so much for City for helping out. Thank you so much for Justin Horneker. Thank you so much to our sponsors here on STL Sports Central, DraftKings Sportsbook, where the crown is yours. And also you can check out myhomebank.bank. That's myhomebank.bank. They are our business partners here at STL Sports Central. One final time for Justin Horneker, I'm Matthew Rocchio. This has been the City Central postgame. Hopefully, we're talking to you next week after another City 2 victory.